soldiers injure themselves in World War II. They were not cowards, they were desperate. By 1942, German soldiers were trapped in a war they could not win. Russia was freezing them to death. Allied bombs were flattening cities. Food was scarce. Sleep was impossible. Survival chances were collapsing. But here's the brutal truth. The only way out of the front line was through injury or death. Desertion meant execution. Refusing orders meant execution. Running away meant execution. So some soldiers made a horrifying calculation. Pain now or death later. They shot their own limbs. They burned themselves. They infected their own wounds. Some amputated fingers with knives. And if they were caught, they were executed as traitors. This wasn't bravery. This wasn't weakness. This was what happens when human beings are pushed past the edge of survival.
1. Karl Weiss, the frozen trigger. This German soldier survived 3 months of hell, then shot himself on purpose. Karl Weiss was only 22 when he arrived on the Eastern Front in 1942. The cold was so brutal that men froze to death standing up. Every night, Russian artillery turned the ground into fire. Karl watched his best friend bleed out in the snow, begging for his mother. Days later, Karl stopped writing letters home. He stopped sleeping. He stopped caring. One night, alone in his trench, he made a choice no officer could force him to make. He placed the rifle against his own foot and pulled the trigger. The shot echoed across the frozen battlefield. Blood soaked into the snow like black ink. Karl survived. He was evacuated. The war never touched him again. But every night for the rest of his life, he heard that gunshot in his dreams. 2. Heinz Bauer, the shattered hand. He crushed his own hand just to escape being sent to Russia. Heinz Bauer was a radio operator stationed in France. He had seen the reports coming from the Eastern Front. Entire units wiped out, soldiers frozen, starved, or captured. Then the order came, transfer to Russia. That night, Heinz waited until the garage was empty. He placed his hand between the steel door of a truck and the frame. Then he slammed it shut. The bones shattered instantly. Screaming brought the medics. They called it an accident. Heinz was sent to a hospital in Berlin. Within months, everyone he would have fought beside in Russia was dead. He lived with only one good hand.
3. Lucas Meyer, the Desert Fire. This soldier set himself on fire to go home. In the North African desert, Lucas Meyer fought under a sun that peeled skin and boiled water. British bombers ruled the sky. Death came daily. Lucas learned something important. Severely burned soldiers were evacuated immediately. So one night, he poured fuel down his arm and lit the match. His screaming woke the entire camp. Flesh burned. The smell of skin filled the air. The pain was unspeakable. But Lucas survived. He was flown back to Germany within days. His unit was wiped out 2 weeks later. 4. Otto Klein, the bullet in the dark. He shot himself at night and almost paid with his life twice. Otto was on night watch near Leningrad. Nobody could see him. Nobody could prove anything. He raised his pistol and fired into his shoulder. The pain dropped him instantly. But Otto made one fatal mistake. A fellow soldier heard the shot and grew suspicious. Otto was interrogated for days. Self-mutilation meant execution. Only one thing saved him. A Russian sniper had been reported in the area that same night. The officers believed it was enemy fire. Otto lived, but many others like him were shot by firing squads.
5. Friedrich Lenz, the infection. Some soldiers didn't use bullets, they used bacteria. Friedrich Lenz didn't want to be obvious. A gunshot brought questions. So he took a small knife and cut his leg. Then he did something unthinkable. He rubbed dirt, rotting food, and animal waste into the open wound. Days later, the infection turned black. Fever took his mind. The smell of decay filled the barracks. Surgeons fought to stop the gangrene. They amputated his leg. Friedrich never returned to the front. He had traded a limb for his life. 6. Wilhelm Schroeder, the last letter. He wrote a goodbye letter, then pulled the trigger on himself. Wilhelm Schroeder was a school teacher before the war. Before shooting himself in the foot, he wrote a letter to his mother. "I am not brave. I am just tired of watching people die." Then he fired. He survived. He returned home crippled but alive. After the war, Wilhelm never spoke about what he did. The letter was found only after his death. It revealed the truth he had carried in silence for 50 years.
Seven. Ernst Vogel, the tank track. This accident saved his life but destroyed his hands forever. Ernst worked on tank maintenance. He knew exactly how much pressure the tracks had. During repairs, he slipped his hand under the moving steel. The crunch was instant. Medics rushed him away, screaming in pain. The officers believed it was mechanical failure. Years later, Ernst's diary was discovered. He had planned it for weeks. His entire unit was later killed in an Allied bombing raid. 8. Matthias Kuhn, the poison. At just 18 years old, he poisoned himself to escape the war. Matthias Kuhn had just turned 18 when he was drafted. At night, he listened to older soldiers scream from shell shock. One night, he drank industrial chemicals from the supply shed. His stomach burned from the inside. He nearly bled to death. He spent months in a military hospital. By the time he recovered, the war was over. He survived adolescence. His entire generation almost didn't. 9. Stalingrad, the frozen fingers. Some soldiers chose amputation instead of dying in Stalingrad. At Stalingrad, temperatures dropped to -30 degrees Celsius. Some men stood guard without gloves. Not by accident, they allowed frostbite to take their fingers. Blackened flesh, dead nerves. Doctors amputated without anesthesia. Those men were flown out. The rest stayed, and most never left the ruins alive. 10. Rudolf Hahn, the one who was caught. He survived the bullet, but not the punishment. Rudolf Hahn shot himself in the leg during a patrol. At first, everyone believed enemy fire, but another soldier reported suspicious behavior. Rudolf was arrested. No trial, no mercy. He was executed behind the barracks at sunrise. His family was told he died a hero. The truth was buried with him.